Hello Year 12s. Right, I hope you had a good Easter. We are now going to start looking at the second form in Part B of the sample assessment material. That's the Shares Book Estate database. Now, in the old spec, the second form was always the more difficult form. It was one that involved having calculated fields in it. And this is the same this time, but certainly based on what I'm seeing in the sample assessment material. And once we're done with the SAM, we will start looking at the January exam, which is just gone, and that again will give us more of an idea of what we expect when it comes to your exam, which obviously now is going to be probably next January. But certainly based on what we're seeing in the SAM, whilst you do have to do calculated fields, it is really simple, much simpler than what we had to do in the old system. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to have a look at the actual problem. So input form to add product deliveries. Now this is where it gets good. The form should not include any validation for fields. The form should not include any automated routine to save data. So you don't have to do any validation. You don't even have to save the record. Okay, you could possibly even do this without even having a bound form where it's not linked to a table, but we will link it to a table because it makes it a whole lot easier. But we're not actually saving anything. That's the thing, and as a result, there's no data validation or anything like that. Simply because there's no point in assessing you on that, because that was all covered in the previous form. This one is all about your ability to do calculated fields. So these details should then be displayed. Hang on. The user should be able to select the product and input the number that has been delivered. So we're going to look for product, and then we're going to say how many of them are going to be delivered. These details should be then displayed. The cost price for the product, the selling price for the product, the current number in stock. Now this is all gone from the product table, and these fields should be calculated and displayed. And this is where the real testing is. The new number in stock, which is going to be the current number plus what's been delivered. The overall cost for the products, which is going to be the amount that's being delivered by the cost price, and then the overall sales value, which is going to be our new updated stock times the selling price. Nice and easy. As I say, compared to what we've done before, this is super simple. And then obviously it needs to be formatted appropriately. So let's go back and let's create ourselves a new blank form. Okay, so let's put myself in design view, and so first thing I want to do is get the property sheet for the form, and on data it gives me a record source. Now I could leave this unbound, but it's going to be a lot easier if I do bind it to TBL product. So that means now this form is going to be based on that. Okay. Now the reason I want to do this is that when I select a product, I want to bring through the cost price, the selling price, and the current stock automatically. Now if I did it as an unbound form, I would have to do those as calculated fields, but actually doing it this way, I don't. It's done for me automatically, and it's done using a wizard that we haven't actually looked at before. So this is something completely new. But before I do that, I'm going to just set up the format of my form. So let's set the background color to be go with this tan color. So there we go, and then I'm going to put a label at the top, which can be my heading. I'm going to call this add a delivery, and let's just get this text and center it, and then make it a bit bigger. There we go. I'm going to set that to a slightly darker color of the gold, and then the shape outline to the maximum, and then the text to the maximum of that gold color. Right, there we go. So there's my add delivery. Right, so I'm going to put some instructions just beneath that. So let's let's say select the product being delivered and the delivery amount. Okay, and then I'm going to set that to centered. And don't think I'll bother with a sort of doing the text box on that, but what I will do is put a horizontal line just beneath it, and I'm going to set that colour to be again this dark gold. Right, so now I'm going to start adding some of my fields. So I've got a design tab and I want add existing fields. So what do I want? I want the cost price, the selling price, and the number in stock. There's the cost price, there's the selling price, and there's the number in stock. Okay, I'm going to bring them all down in line with that one. Okay. Change that to current stock. Which means that's going to move out one. This doesn't want to line up very easily for me. Just trying to use the grid as a way of lining them up. And some of them seem to want to line up nicely, some don't. So, right, these three I'm going to get rid of the box, well not get rid of the box, but get rid of the outline, so make it transparent. I'm not going to give it a fill. Go. Now these three are going to be you won't be able to put anything into them, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to set them to the lightest colour. Oh, actually if I set them to the lightest colour they'll disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the background to be the second lightest colour, and I'm going to set this to be the third lightest colour. There we go. Just so that now I can see that these will light up as because I'm going to make them uneditable. So let me then also pull up my property sheet and make locked yes. So that means you won't be able to change the value in any of these fields. Right, and also they should also be relatively small, so I'm going to pull them into there maybe a little bit more. Right, now I'm going to bring in my drop down, which is where I'm going to select the field. Now, we might at this point in the past have gone to the field list and dragged it in from there, but actually what I'm going to do is here there's a combo box option, and if I click on that and put it on there, it will start the combo box wizard for me. Now, I'm fairly sure we have done this in the past where it says we want the combo box to get the values from another table query, and that allows us to create a combo box that will be based off a other table. However, there's an option at the bottom, find a record on my form based on the value selected in my combo box. So this is going to allow us to use the combo box to select a record on the product table. So I click on that, and then I want the product ID and the product description, and this is great because it's actually going to automatically say to me, would you like to hide the column, the key column? So yeah, I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger, so that everything can be seen. And product description sounds good. There we go. I'm going to just move that over to the middle. That. I'm going to change that from product description to select product, because this is a selector basically. Again, I'm going to get rid of the outline, and I'm also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little star beside that, because we've done this in the past. This is just telling me that this is mandatory. You definitely need to add something in here. Again, format wise, I'm going to make it transparent, and the text I'm going to make red. I'm going to just copy that and put another one down there, because the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm just going to check if I actually made these transparent. Yes, I have. Good. But I want to go back to this one and make that my dark gold colour. There we go. I now want to add in another text box. Now this will be an unbound text box, because there's nothing on the table telling us how many is being delivered. So I'm going to click on text box, and then click on text box. There we go. Click on there, and it'll give me a text box. Now it's coming up saying unbound, and that means it's not bound to anything. This one's the same, it's unbound, because again, I'm not actually it's not reading from the database, it's reading from what I type in. So amount, I'm going to call this amount delivered. Again, let's line these two up. That'll do. And again, I'm going to make that transparent and make that gold. And that doesn't need to be nearly as big as that, so all that's going to be is a number, but I will leave the star out there. I'm going to actually add another horizontal line in, because nothing will be entered below here. You're going to test it up to now, so select something, and yeah, look, it's changing the items. They're all changing for me automatically. That's not wide enough though. I'm going to make that wider. So let's move both of these out to there, and then let's try it now. Oh, it's still not big enough, but some of these are really big. Okay, so approach from the other side. Let's pull these to there. Yeah, that looks about right. Right, I'm now ready to add in my final three fields. Okay, so again, I'm going to pull in a text box, and it's going to start out being unbound. And I'm in fact just going to quickly put three of those in. I'll move them around as I get to them. Okay, so the first one is going to be the updated stock, or new stock. Okay, so again, make that disappear. I'm going to get it in line there. Let's see if that'll fit here. Actually, I'll move to there, because these should all be relatively small as well. And right, so what I'm going to do now is I'll go to my property sheet. I'm going to bring this in a bit. Right, so the control source is, if I click on my dot dot dot, I can then say the control source, so this is the new stock, so it's going to be equal to the current stock, which I believe is number in stock, plus, oh actually I'm going to go back, because this is good practice. If I'm going to be using these fields later on, and I'll be doing this on the other ones, but I haven't done it on this one. If I go to other, it gives me the name of this field. Now if you bring a field in from the database, it will, from the table, it will give it the name of the underlying field in the table. But if you just create one, it gives it this rubbish text 10, which is meaningless. As you can see, the labels are the same. The label for this one is called label 11. I don't worry about label 11 because I don't actually ever reference that. However, this one I will reference. So I'm going to call this delivery number, delivery amount, and the reason is now when I go to use that later on, which I was about to, I will remember delivery amount. I would never going to remember text 10. So it's a little bit like, you know, we give it TBL product and FRM supplier and things like that. It's giving it sensible name so that we're able to use it later on. So back to here. Text 13, again I'm going to change that. This is updated stock. And go back to the data, and I'm going to say that equal to number in stock plus delivery amount. There we go. And because I've given it a sensible name, it's easy for me to remember. And then I'm going to change the colour of that, but I'll do the other two now, so I don't have to do them separately. So the next one is going to be the what do they call it? Overall cost of the products. So that is how much all the products are going to cost. So again, I'm going to be using the updated stock. So let's call it product cost. Move that to there. And the product cost is again, let's cost. I'm not sure I'm going to use that one again, but I'll give it a proper name anyway. If I go to the data and the control source, it's going to be the cost price multiplied by the new stock level. So equals, no, this is a currency value, so I want to format it. So if I look in functions, built-in functions, there should be a function called format, gone too far, format currency I think it's called. Now format currency will have loads and loads and loads of options. I cannot find, yeah, format, there we go. It'll have loads and loads of options, precision, all that kind of stuff. But whenever you see this, because you will be able to see this on the exam, if you click on it, it won't take you to the help. But if the options have these square brackets, that means they're optional. And you can just leave them and it'll give you the default value. And in most cases, the default value is exactly what we want. So format currency, and I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff. And we just instead want the expression, and the expression in this situation is going to be its updated stock multiplied by cost price. done. And this is going to be our sales price. That's going to call this total sale price. Simply because I've got selling price over there and I just don't want it to get confusing. And let's pull that in. Sales price, and that's going to be again equals format currency, and I didn't go through it this time because you've already seen it. You can just start to type it and it will find it for you. And this one's going to be the updated stock levels multiplied by the selling price. And I think that is that. So let's go to my adult socks, which cost £2 each. Selling price of £3. There's currently 23 in stock. So if I add another 7, keep a nice round number, then the new stock should be 30. The cost price should be 60. The sell price should be 90. So type it in, and then I go to another field, just so that I can see it updating. There we go. That's worked. We're slightly out of line. I'm just going to go back and quickly change that. But other than that, that is finished. And you can see if I change that to anything else, these all automatically update for me. Basically, by having updated stock and selling price in there, it automatically means that any time updated stock or cost price get updated, this will update as well. There we go. Right, so if I then quickly look back and see what it's asking us to put in, screen put in the input form, screen put in form view and design view, screen prints of any code or macros you've used. Now at this point you might think, oh, it's okay, I didn't use any code or macros, and so long as then these can be seen, which currently they can't, so even though it's not what I'd look at in my nicely formatted one, I would pull these as far out as you can. So that when you screenshot it, we can see the calculations that have been done. But also, that wizard we used, that's actually creates the macro for us. So if we click on this, we can see the select it's doing. But if we look on events, we'll see that there's an after update. Okay, so that means after it's updated, it's running this macro. And if we click on the ... let's look at the macro builder. I clicked on before update, after update. We can see it's run this search for record, record first, where product ID equals, and then it's done it for us automatically. But you would need to screenshot this and add that in, as whilst you haven't written the macro yourself, you have created the macro using a wizard, so you would still need to show how that's done. Okay, so get to it. Oh, last thing to do, save it and call it FRM delivery. And right, now you get to it.